Pass. Nearly a month late, New York State now has a budget framework for lawmakers to vote on. Governor Kathy Hochul highlighted what it includes for child care needs, inflation, and cell phones in schools. 7 News reporter Gage Kilborn tells us what North Country lawmakers think of the plan.
Monday night, Governor Kathy Hochul announced a tentative $254 billion state budget for the next fiscal year.
Together, we designed a budget that will lift up all New Yorkers.
The budget includes a first-time inflation refund check of up to $200 for individuals and up to $400 per family. It also puts $2.2 billion towards expanding access to childcare and makes community college free for adults ages 25 to 55 in high-demand fields like healthcare and education. Assemblyman Scott Gray says while it's a large budget, he is going to look at where the money is going towards.
Will I vote no just because it's a big number? No, I usually try to do a deeper dive into these budgets to see exactly what do they do for the North Country and make sure that the North Country is being represented.
One area Gray says he will scrutinize is the Aid and Incentives for Municipalities program, or AIM, to support local municipal funding.
We know the complications that Watertown is having. We know the complications that Ogdensburg is having budgetarily. So we were going to hopefully find if there's some relief through the AIM funding there.
One of the standouts in this budget is Hochul's bell-to-bell cell phone ban, which prohibits students from having phones during school hours. Gray believes the state should just give the school districts parameters instead.
So it's up to the school districts because ultimately they're the ones that have to, they're the ones that are going to have to enforce this measure.
Meanwhile, State Senator Mark Walczak tells 7 News in a statement that he is critical of state Democrats for continuing to hold budget negotiations behind closed doors. Walczak says, quote, "I've seen no language, and 3 Democrats in a room have been avoiding transparency promises and good government practices, negotiating away from public scrutiny for months now." End quote. State lawmakers are currently discussing the 9 separate budget bills. When passed, they will be signed by the governor to finalize a state budget. Gage Kilborn, 7 News.